Welcome to Sharing Hope. I'm your host, Jamie George. Our guest today is Jeremy Cowart. Jeremy's been called the most influential photographer on the internet by Huffington Post and Forbes and Yahoo. In 2014, kind of everything went crazy for Jeremy. He's done a bazillion different things. He's an award-winning photographer, artist, and entrepreneur. I hope we have time to talk about this idea he has with a hotel, and I know that's taken a great deal of life and energy, but boy, it's ambitious and beautiful. He's published books. He's presented at TEDx, the United Nations. He speaks places, and he happens to be one of my favorite people. Welcome, Jeremy Cowart.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
it's an honor to be here,
man. So how are you doing with all this stuff? Now, you can be a hermit at times when you're like locked in, focused, doing your creative thing. I know being alone isn't necessarily new, but what's it been like for you, this whole quarantine thing?
First of all, is my audio okay? I'm using my laptop.
Yeah,
okay.
You sound good.
All right, good. Man, it's actually been really interesting. The first week was devastating because, like many, I was just going through my calendar and hitting the delete key, and with each delete was a lot of income.
Yes.
And so it was like delete, a speaking gig, a photo shoot, another speaking gig, another photo shoot, like times 4 months of gigs. So I was like, wow, I just literally deleted my the next 4 months of income. Like, what am I gonna do? And I was just chilling like everybody else at home with the kids. And as I would sit around every day, I started getting inspired by what other photographers were doing in my industry. Some photographers were doing like front porch projects where they would stand like 20 yards away and photograph people on their front porch.
Oh, cool.
And I thought that was cool. Then my buddy John Keatley in Seattle started doing FaceTime portraits, which I thought, oh, that's a cool idea, is just to interview people and take their FaceTime portrait. And then like it just hit me, like I have a studio that I'm already quarantined in. I work alone. So if I drive to my studio and I use these fancy high-end projectors that I have from Canon, I could create my own project. And so, and then my friend Derek Webb, do you know Derek?
Yeah.
Derek introduced me to some software called Crowdcast, where you can charge tickets for online events. And so I started doing these online virtual photo shoots, and boom, it just has blown up over the last 2 weeks. I've now photographed over 600 families and individuals.
What? In 2 weeks?
In 2 weeks in almost every American state. I'm over 40 states now. And already, I think I'm close to 30 countries, just virtually.
Jeremy.
It's
insane.
In
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
When have you slept?
And every one of those photo shoots has been a paid shoot.
Wow.
And so I've literally reinvented the way I do business in the last 2 weeks. So I'm one of the, I guess, probably the very few where quarantine has actually been good for me creatively, financially. I mean, I'm having a blast. And the way it works on Crowdcast is my assistant, there's like a backstage green room. And so she'll bring in the first person on camera. I'll spend 2 minutes with them. I'll meet them just like you and I are right now. And they're projected up onto a canvas backdrop. And I've got my camera set up and I'm photographing them from my computer. And then I'm done with them. My assistant brings on the next person virtually. And so in a 2-hour sitting, I can do 40 photo shoots around the world.
Oh my heavens.
It's crazy.
And are you doing post editing and the whole thing? And
so get this. Here's where it gets really crazy. I'm using a second projector that is projecting over the person live. And that second projector is my iPad screen. And so I am drawing and painting on my iPad digitally. And what I'm drawing and painting is like appearing over their face, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like it's like the person is a live Photoshop layer.
Oh my heavens.
And so the final product looks like I went in and did tons of post work and textures, but everything is done in camera. Like when I take the picture, it's done. So there's no There's no post work
It's
being
all
done.
happening at one time in the same moment.
Yes, yes. It's all live and I've been live streaming it all to Facebook and Instagram so people can see for themselves that the whole process is all done in camera. And it's just, dude, it's crazy, man.
So you never cease to blow my mind. Now, for those who haven't seen your work, which your work's been all over the world countless times, but we used to have an office around the corner from each other,
Yeah.
and I'd walk out and you'd be on the pavement with like gasoline or so, I don't know, you'd be like doing, and I'm like, what are you doing? You're like, I think a picture might look good like this. And I mean, you've had this genius to me, but this beautiful part of you that kind of never, it's that insatiable curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
I remember they used to say that about Leonardo da Vinci. He would never take yes for an answer. Like they'd go, "Is this how you yes?" Well, that's not good enough. Like I still want to try something new. And is that part of what's giving you life in this? That's here, life was handed you a limitation, but it's pushed you to create in a way you otherwise wouldn't have.
Yeah, I was nodding my head because, for a long time, people, when they compliment my work, I've never really liked my work in the past because I always know that I'm capable of more. I'm capable of tapping into something deeper and more interesting and more meaningful. And this work is so fulfilling because I finally feel like I'm tapping into that, not only the creativity, but the meaningful connections with people. I'm calling the whole series Love Transported. So I'm literally transporting people into my studio. And by the way, yesterday I figured out how to have two people side by side in two different parts of the world or the country.
What?
And photograph them together. Yeah. So
Oh,
they'll be standing and smiling.
Can you watch that?
So I haven't broadcast it yet, but
Okay.
it's cool because I'm going to coach them before we do the shoot on how to match their lighting. So they can go in their bathroom or dark room and put one light on them so the background goes black. And so once they're projected, they'll literally look like they're together in my studio.
So this to me, I want to say back to what I think I hear you saying. This is, you've always had a heart for people. I mean, since you were a kid, right? I mean, part of your family, part of your story. Mm-hmm. That's just part of who you are. There's a sensitivity to you. You care for those in need. It's hardwired into you since I've known you, right?
Yeah.
And yet here you are. You also have to pay the bills. You got to take care of your family. Mm-hmm. So there's this kind of ever-present, like, well, I got to be responsible and come up. Even though I'm an artist and even though I love people, I got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
But then you have this artistic part of you. You love to create. But we've talked about this for years, the sense of like, other people might think this is astonishing or wonderful, but it doesn't totally quite do it for me. Is this connecting with something, I think I hear you saying, because you're finally getting to match paying the bills with being creative, with honestly making a huge difference in someone's life? Because I mean, we know the power of a portrait, especially in times like this. Are all those things like integrated? Is that what's happening for you?
That's exactly it. In addition to the global element, like literally I'll go, like my calls will be like New Zealand, Brazil, South Africa, Nashville, Franklin, Seattle, New York, New Jersey, back to Africa. I mean, it's just like, so it's the global element. But then I think from the most important part for me, I'm a real, like when it comes to the art, I really deeply care to a fault about the final aesthetic, the final look, the tones, the vibe, and somehow what I'm doing has landed on this aesthetic that I'm just deeply in love with. Even the crappy web cameras that we're all using around the world, when you have this pixelated, blurry webcam land on a piece of soft canvas mixed with these layers of iPad projected drawings and textures, there's this beautiful, like soft, painterly, bizarre it's like a Polaroid. It all just like blends together in this look that I just am so in love with. And so yeah, it's like the mix of all of my passions, and I feel like everything I've learned from graphic design to Photoshop to photography to drawing and painting to connecting with people, technology. I mean, it's literally all merged into this process. And so,
It's
yeah.
culminated in a world, in this moment when the world has a worldwide pandemic.
Hmm.
It just so happens all these things that you'd been doing your whole life happen to come together for this moment in time.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, honestly, I feel guilty because it's like I'm fully aware of what a brutal time this is for most everybody I know. I
Yeah.
mean, and honestly, it's still a brutal time for me because my mom is very sick. She
Mm,
just found out she has cancer. I know you know that
mm,
feeling. And but none of us can go see her. None of us can be with her. And so it's a brutal time for everybody. But yeah, so many of my friends have no idea what they're going to do. People are losing jobs left and right, and so it feels a bit weird to land on something profitable that's fun, that I'm having a great time. But at the same time, I feel like, if we're all just sitting around in our depression and isolation, like I do feel almost called to lead the way for other
yes.
artists. That's why I'm
Yes.
sharing my process, because I'm like, look, here's everything I'm doing. Like, maybe you can take away something from my process, because like Crowdcast is a game changer. A guy like you can teach live and charge tickets. You can teach their writing process. You could teach how to play the guitar. A man could teach how to cook in their kitchen live. Like, you could charge $5. Like, I just believe it's such a game-changing way to make a living online,
Yeah.
that I'm just trying to be open and share everything I'm doing, and welcoming any artist, any
Yes.
person to steal any part of the process. And so
And be inspired by, like, because what, like 2 weeks ago, you could have been sitting in your house. Well, you probably were sitting in your house going, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure you and Shannon had a moment like, I don't, I'm not sure what we're going to do for the rest of, I mean, that's what it sounds like, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So,
she had two clients bail on buying their houses. She had an $18,000 commission that was about to land, and they just changed their minds. So
yeah.
like, oh, we're now scared of the market, and
Yeah.
we're backing out. So
So
yeah, I mean,
you're staring at each other like, I mean, it literally for a lot of us, right? Like it's literally not like, I don't know how we're going to do the vacation. It's literally, I don't know how we're going to pay the bills.
yeah, yeah,
And it is inspiring to hear your story. So thank you. You know, I
yeah.
get that. I get the feeling of like how I could feel a little guilty, but thank you for sharing, because to me, great art often is produced in times of suffering.
Mhm.
I mean, isn't that historically true? Some of the most beautiful pieces you see, you go into a museum and you hear the story behind it. Often it came from it came from the broken heart, a
Yeah.
broken-hearted lover, or it's just some time in history of oppression or whatever else.
Mhm.
And so in the midst of limitation often narrows the focus and
Yeah.
forces us into something new. So man, to me, it's just inspiring. Thank you for
Well,
sharing.
one of the things from Stephen Pressfield's The War of Art that
Oh, it's
really,
so funny. But that came up in an interview yesterday too. Yeah,
right.
okay, sorry, keep going.
Oh,
Yes.
that book's a game changer for me. But one of the things I remember him saying, I forget the exact context, but he was talking about how sometimes the greatest thing an artist can do for other artists is to just shine and excel and do their thing, and lead the way. And
Mhm.
so I realized that part of and I'm getting a lot of emails and direct messages on Instagram from other photographers and artists saying exactly that,
Mm.
just saying like, just watching your process is helping me dig out of my hole, and so I think that was part of what encouraged me to just share everything and try to lead, was Stephen Pressfield mentioning that in that book.
Yeah. Do you? Is there a way to see an example of one of these? Is there a way to
Oh yeah,
show us?
yeah. I
Can we
can share
see?
my screen, can I?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Please.
Dude, you're about to see some cool stuff. I'm
Okay,
excited.
yeah, please show it to us.
I'm excited to
And
show
and
you.
and while you're pulling it up, how do you deal with people? Like, how do you handle the language barrier and stuff?
I mean, so far it's all English speaking. Sometimes we have web cameras that don't work, but like, I mean, just watch as I dig through these images.
Oh my heavens.
So all those textures, I mean, it's
Oh
all,
my, and this is in real time. You're
this is,
doing this while you're shooting.
yes, yes. I'm
Jeremy.
hiding and revealing layers and drawing and on my iPad. So the iPad canvas is projected over their face on a cloth canvas.
And so then how do how do they, is it, how do they literally have the image and they just have a digital image that they take to Costco or something and print out? Like how do they, what do they do with it afterwards?
So I send them the high-res digital files
Okay.
where they can either order
Gorgeous. These are
prints.
gorgeous.
Thanks, man. Where they can order prints or just, post to social media. Most people are they just want the documentation of their time in quarantine.
Mm.
And my goal is to provide this like vintage, almost tintype, vibe for like I wanted this historic documentation that looked almost like it was out of the early 1900s.
Yeah. Yeah. Which interestingly enough, 100 years ago, there was another pandemic going through them.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously. And so it's taken a while to land on this aesthetic, but man, I'm just in love with it.
The textures, so fun. Look at that with the mask.
But see, when I zoom in, you see like how the way it lands on the canvas is just so pretty. Um,
You would never know this is taken from a web camera.
yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, these are all just web cameras around the world. It's even when people move really quickly and they blur, like it still adds to the crazy aesthetic.
Oh my heavens.
So, I'll show you one more thing. So I think it's in this shoot. So here's me testing it out yesterday for the first time ever. So the lady on the left was in Denver and the lady on the right was in San Francisco.
Oh my heavens.
So I
Jeremy,
shot,
it looks like yes, it totally looks like they're next to each other.
yeah. And so when I coach people how to shoot with a black background, that middle line will disappear. So it'll actually look like they are standing together. And I'm gonna have them like face each other and just play around with it.
Oh my heavens.
But it should be pretty cool.
Is there a way, so you're just talking about your mother,
Yeah,
like, is there a way to get a nurse to take a camera in and get a photo like with someone who hasn't, some of these older folks have been quarantined for now
exactly.
almost a month, right? Is that,
Dude, that is exactly the next steps. In fact, this afternoon, I'm going to try a free healthcare global photo shoot where healthcare workers around the world can FaceTime an email address that I set up. And so I'll be just sitting here waiting. And when somebody FaceTimes me, they'll immediately be on the canvas. And all I need is like 30 seconds for a quick portrait. And then I'm going to launch this next week where, yeah, someone could be like, I've been FaceTiming with my mom a lot from her hospital bed. So yeah, she and I could take a picture together from her hospital bed.
wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of hospital related healthcare stuff I'm about to try with this process too.
Man, that's incredible.
It's pretty fun, man.
It is incredible. So what would you say to folks who I mean, inspired like me, watching you do that and going, man, I don't. Sometimes, yeah, I look at somebody like you and I go, you're so. It seems unachievable for me. You're so talented. You're so good at what you do, and I know, we've done enough of these conversations that in your mind, in some ways, like, what are you talking? This is like breathing. Like, this is kind of what I do. Now, part of that is years of skill and refining your craft and whatever else. But to me, you're just, I was talking with somebody the other day and they said, you know what I love about Jeremy? It was a mutual friend of ours. They said, he just doesn't care. Like some artists get afraid to like leave their brand or try something new or whatever else. He said, what I love about Jeremy is his ambition. If he's like, oh, I think I'm going to try this. Where does that come from in you, and how do you encourage that in others who maybe like me at times I'm like, I'm a little intimidated to try something different?
I don't know, for some reason, like whenever I think about the fear and I think about when I was little, for some reason, like I've always been attracted to, like I was always the first person in the haunted house in the 80s when haunted houses were actually scary and they could actually touch you and, grab your legs and like, I wanted to go into that black room. I remember, you know, doing a ropes course with a group of 200 fellow youth group kids, and there was a really high rope, and the leader said, "Who wants to go first?" And I was the only person out of like, a ton of kids that raised their hands. And I think that same thing applies to business and applies to ideas. Like I love not knowing what's going to happen. I love the potential of failing. I was talking to Charlie Peacock recently, and he was talking about Miles Davis, and he was like, Miles Davis released like 50 records, only 3 of them were successes, and but none of us know that. We only remember each other's successes. So I just feel like a lot of these failures that I do, and a lot of my projects have failed. No one's really going to remember that. They're going to remember this. The one that is working, or Help Portrait, or the Purpose Hotel, whatever they may be. But I don't know. I'm just like okay with things failing and being afraid of the dark, or walking into the dark.
Yeah.
Not knowing who's going to hurt me or grab me or whatever. I'm just like, screw it. Let's see what happens.
So would you say to folks, like the fear is not going to go away? Just step into it. Just have the courage to go walk into the unknown.
Yeah, exactly. Like fear. I mean, fear never goes away. I always laugh when people ask that question, like, when did you overcome fear? I'm like, oh my God, it is not only fear, but just deep insecurities and doubt. And I mean, I could do a whole nother hour with you on the hotel journey and how hard that's been, and how much doubt and fear there's been. But even with my photography, my creativity, even over the last year, just feeling like I'm 42, I'm washed up. It's all the young kids now. Like I now suck. No one wants to hire me. I'm the old guy. I'm the veteran. And but then like here I am and doing the most creative, best work of my career.
Wow.
So there's always hope around the corner for sure.
Can you give us a quick update on the hotel for those folks who don't know? You've been working on a hotel concept for how many years is it now? 4?
Oh gosh, yeah, we've been working on it 5. I had the
Wow.
idea 8 years ago, but the work started 5. I mean, I just finished a 2-hour call about it. We're working on it every day because of the pandemic. It has really decimated the hotel industry. I mean, much worse than you could imagine already. We actually, our investors and our board think we're going to be in a better position than ever, than anybody, because we're just now beginning to build in our story. I mean, so things are going really well. Obviously, this pauses things for a little while. This does set back our timeline, but it sets back the entire industry,
Right.
all industries.
But give the quick concept of the Purpose Hotel. Just share people what it is.
Yeah, it's going to be a physical hotel first in Nashville, where everything in the building connects to a cause or nonprofit. So every room sponsors a child. The internet fee fights human trafficking. The room service feeds a child in need through Food for the Hungry. The art comes from humanitarian artists. The coffee, the furniture is built by people in need. I mean, there's like 60 of those little micro concepts within the hotel. One of my favorite ideas, I'm not sure I've ever told you, is the hotel will not be open to the public at Christmas. It'll only be open to the homeless of Nashville.
Jeremy, I love that. Are you doing that with Ryan or who? That's incredible. I love that.
Yeah, so we'll partner with the rescue mission, and they'll
beautiful.
They'll identify 300 individuals who have graduated or deserving or whatever. We'll leave that up to them who stays. But yeah, we'll convert to a homeless hotel at Christmas, and so it's going to be so special, man.
And it's in Nashville.
Yeah, first one will be in Nashville. We already have the land. We already have management company, architects. I mean, it's a beast already. There's a lot of people involved. I don't know what I'm doing, but thankfully my business partner is a genius, and our advisory board and our CFO, and there's a lot of people who do know what they're doing. I'm just the idea guy, but I'm thankful to have an amazing team around me.
And share briefly with people about Help Portrait as well. That's something that you helped initiate so many years back, and it's still going, right? I mean, that still happens every year.
Yeah, it's a global event where we take pictures of people in need and then print them and give them to them just as a gift. A lot of people have never had a picture of themselves. And so it's just brilliant and amazing to see. We've been doing it for over a decade now. It's crazy.
Wow. Is that a certain time of the year or is it random times?
It's first Saturday of December every year.
Okay, that's right.
So,
That's right. I thought it was tied to something. Well, Jeremy, thank you for taking the time. This has been so inspiring and in real time. I mean, there's always something you're up to that's inspiring, but for this, it's in the last 2 weeks. It's incredible.
Yeah,
If folks were interested and they were like, hey, I want to do this portrait thing or find out about your work, where would they go?
the link is in my Instagram bio. So if
Okay.
they go to instagram.com/Jeremy Cowart, the link is there to sign up.
Okay, Jeremy and Cowart is Cowart.
Yep.
Beautiful. And if they wanted to go to do you have a website as well? If they just want to see your art, your photos?
Yeah, just jeremycowart.com.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I
Yep.
know you've had a busy day already and you got lots of pictures to take. Thanks for taking the time with us. And it's so good to see you, brother. Miss you.
I miss you too, man. Actually, I'm waiting on a call right now from Forbes. Forbes emailed me last night and said they want to cover my project what I'm doing right now. So
I love it.
it's so exciting. So the call is at 1. So wish me luck.
Okay. Yes. Blessings on the call.
Dude, love you, bro. Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. Say hi to Shannon for me.
I will do. You tell your family hey for me too.
I will.
All right,
Take
man,
care,
see ya.
brother. Appreciate it. See ya.